Good morning, afternoon, and evening, loyal listeners. Thank you for tuning in to another extraordinary episode of Vaper-Waves. As always, I'm your host, Gizmo the Radio, and today's topic is a phenomenon I find especially fascinating. While this whole series is about how vape ads are trying to draw in younger viewers, as well as how anti-vape PSAs are failing to save them, this episode is specifically discussing how e-cigarette manufacturers are designing their products to appeal to children. To illustrate my point, let's take a look at these two cereal boxes. They're both made by the same company, Kelloggs, but they're clearly meant for two different demographics. The Fruit Loops have a much bolder font, making it easier to read, as well as more easily recognizable. Compare that to the more simple, almost fancier-looking font on the Special K box. Oh, and there's also that mascot, Toucan Sam, displayed proudly on the middle of the box. Special K has, well, just a big K. As for the cereals themselves, one is cornflakes with bits of strawberry mixed in, and the other is multicolored, fruity-flavored circles chocked full of sugar. Now let me ask you, which one seems more grown-up? Which one is a kid more likely to eat, and which one is an adult more likely to choose? Designers have to answer these questions every time they make a product. Every single detail is purposefully chosen in an attempt to create the most attractive product for the target demographic. What's the point in all this, I hear you wondering at home? Well, consider this. If we know that the product design influences buyers by intentionally targeting certain groups of people over others, then why do you think companies make vapes that look like toys? If you've ever seen anything about vapes in the news, it's likely been in regards to vapes that resemble everyday items. School supplies, snacks, nostalgic toys, you name it, they've done it. Heck, they even have vapes you can play video games on. Which brings us to our first commercial of the day. This particular vape, as the ad showcases, contains classic games such as Pac-Man and Tetris. At least you can get the high score on the old arcade games while you battle that nicotine addiction. The shape and size make the device easy for anyone to play on. Also, the design closely resembles a Game Boy, which adds a sort of retro appeal. The bright colors, recognizable images, and catchy taglines make this commercial particularly enticing to kids. Someone could easily watch this and not even realize the product being advertised was a vape. Designing dangerous products with features that make them look more fun is bound to end in disaster, and I know the designers know this. Today's kids are growing up surrounded by technology, video games in particular. They're fun and easy to play, but also easy to capitalize on. I know someone will try to argue, "Oh, but these games are so old. Kids these days don't play the good old games." But trust me, they do. Clearly you've never been to a middle school study block because everyone was playing Tetris in my 7th and 8th grade years. We played it because it was easy, but interesting enough to keep us engaged. And I just know that those are the exact same reasons as to why someone thought this design was a stroke of genius. Why not keep them addicted to gaming while we get them hooked on nicotine too? It's perfect! Anyways, if you're still not convinced that these companies are preying on impressionable youth, then let me direct your attention to the one and only Minion Vape. Oh, how I wish I was making this up. Recently, there's been a rise in popularity for a vape called the Minion Mesh X4000, which, as you may have guessed by the name, is designed to look like the minions from Despicable Me. Minions have notoriously been plaguing the internet for the past few years, but whether you love them or hate them, you're definitely aware of them. If you really don't know, the Minions are mascots for a series of children's movies called the Despicable Me franchise. They're infamously popular amongst millennial content, and are often associated with bad Facebook memes. Despite the unfavorable reputation, these creatures are still immensely popular with kids and teens alike. The movies are targeted at a younger age range, but today's teens are the ones who would have watched the movies as they came out. There's a bit of a nostalgia factor that adds to their charm, as well as a sort of ironic enjoyment from the terrible memes. At least, that's my best guess as to why they're so popular. I worked at an ice cream store once that had a limited edition Minion-themed special, and trust me, kids anywhere from 3 years old to 19 years old would buy that stuff in bulk. But the point is, Minions are popular with younger audiences, so who would you expect to buy a Minion-shaped vape? Bingo! Children! It's even in the name, so there's no point in denying it. Let's stray away a little bit from intellectual properties to talk about something a bit less overt. The design of the off-stamp X cube may not be as blatantly problematic as the last two, but that doesn't mean it's innocent. The vape's main gimmick, which is constantly highlighted throughout the duration of this commercial, is the customization feature. You can swap all different kinds of pods for new, cool combos and flavors of lung cancer. Isn't that so fun? But that kind of marketing works. People love feeling special and being able to personalize their belongings. This is a cheap gimmick that plays on the mind's primitive desire to be unique, while simultaneously needing to fit in. Psychology aside, it only entices customers to spend even more money they shouldn't be forking over to heartless corporations. While we're on the subject, let's talk about flavorings. The outstanding variety of e-juice flavors is arguably the strongest draw to vaping across all demographics. People are much more likely to coat their lungs with toxic chemicals if they're offered the taste of berry blast or strawberry shortcake, especially children. There's a reason why most jokes about vaping reference fruit flavors like strawberry and watermelon. Even I just mentioned berry blast a second ago. But they do this because most of the flavors being offered are sweet. They're almost always fruit or dessert based. I don't think I have to ask, but do you know what group is most likely to be interested in sweets or sweet-flavored things? Obviously, kids. There's no need to have flavored e-cigarettes. If adults want to give themselves permanent respiratory issues, that's their problem. But they do not need to be offered bubblegum or Hawaiian Punch like they're picking out toothpaste at the dentist's office. They don't need to have adjustable sweetness levels or cutesy animations because they're grown adults who should be able to find some joy in their lives outside of their nicotine devices. Well, it looks like we've reached the end of our time today, folks. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Vaper-Waves. I hope you enjoyed yourself and learned something new. Feel free to let me know what you think in the comments, and leave a like and subscribe if you want to hear more about this topic. But that's all from me today. I'm your host, Gizmo the Radio, and this has been another episode of Vaper-Waves. See you next time on the air.